वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's 11th session of selected Bhagavad Gita verses, a series. Sorry, let me restart. Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's 11th session of our series, Selected Bhagavad Gita verses for daily living. Today, we shall be covering verses 1, 3, 16 and 15 from Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, the 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. When we reach a fork in our journey of life, these verses help us in distinguishing between the two contrasting inner directions, namely Daivi Sampad and Asuri Sampad. The Gita's teachings here is subtle yet profound. Spirituality is not defined by belief, ritual, or status, but by the quality of one's inner life. These profound verses shall be explained by Dr. Kiran, Dr. Komal, Shri B.S. Kulkarni and Srimati Nita Poddar. After each presentation, the speaker will test our understanding with a few teaching quiz questions. Let us be alert, understand, and be enlightened with this divine knowledge. I shall also be moderating today's session. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. On Vaikuntha Ekadashi, in all temples dedicated to Lord Venkateshwara, a door which remains closed through the year is ceremoniously opened. This door does not merely open a physical passage. It symbolically reveals a direction, a path leading to Vaikuntha, the abode of Lord Vishnu. This symbolism beautifully sets the tone for today's topic. In the 13th, 14th, and 15th chapters of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan clearly establishes that Atma Gnanam is the path for ultimate goal of human life, moksha. Having defined the goal, then the Lord changes gears in the 16th and 17th chapters. He's shifting his focus to the way of life that prepares one for that goal. At first glance, the goal of life and the way of life may appear distinct and different, but in truth, they are inseparably interconnected, each shaping and refining the other. A life lived in alignment with Dharma naturally prepares the seeker for the highest goal, while clarity about the goal disciplines and elevates the way one lives. Hence, the Vedas unequivocally guide us to consciously align our lifestyle so that it becomes conducive to the realization of life's ultimate purpose, that is moksha. The saying yata drishti tata shrishti, as is our vision, so is our life, captures this truth succinctly. Hence, our inner outlook determines our outer lifestyle. They consider a simple analogy. A kind of plant that can grow depends entirely on the environment. In deep sea, at extreme depths, with underwater volcano, life survives under immense pressure, acidic waters, and total darkness. These same organisms cannot exist in oxygen-rich sunlit waters, where ordinary marine life thrives. Therefore, environment and life form are mutually dependent. For this reason, the Veda Purva Bhaga, the earlier portion of Vedas, emphasizes the way of life, while Vedanta or Veda Antavaga focuses on the goal of life. Unfortunately, Sanatana Dharma is often identified only with the ritualistic practices of the Purva Bhaga. This is incomplete. Our culture cannot be understood without Vedanta, nor can moksha be understood without appreciating the discipline of life that leads to it. The way of life conducive to reach that goal. At the heart of one's way of life lies character. Character determines the way of life. The way of life determines the goal of life. Thus, character, life, and goal are deeply intertwined. In this context, we find a threefold classification of human character in Vedanta. They are Dvesha Pradhana Swabhava, Raga Pradhana Swabhava, and Gnana Pradhana Swabhava. Let us understand these three human characters in little more detail. The first one is Raga Pradhana character. Raga Pradhana character or person. These persons with this character are dominated by dislike towards people, situations, institutions, and even God. Accumulated dvesha manifests as anger, krodha, which in turn leads to violence through thoughts, words, and actions. Such individuals are often insensitive, rude, and gross-minded, hurting others knowingly or unknowingly. This disposition is not conducive to spiritual growth, and it leads to spiritual decline. The Gita calls this Rakshasa Swabhava, not in a mythological sense, but as a explosive, destructive temperament. The second character is I think one slide is missing, sorry. The second character is uh, Raga Pradana character. Yeah. The second type of Raga Pradana characters or Swabhava are people dominated by attachment and desire, which is kama, for name, fame, wealth, and pleasure, possessions, status, etc. These individuals are extroverted, materialistic, and sensory oriented. Bhagwan refers to these as Asura Swabhava. Asura means one who lives primarily for senses. Such people are not inclined towards philosophy or spirituality and inward inquiry. They may not harm others, but they regard spirituality as irrelevant. Spirituality, this leads neither to a downfall nor upliftment, but causes stagnation. The next one is the third one is the Dvesha Pradhana character. This is the most elevating disposition, the most elevating disposition is Gnana Pradhana Swabhava. For such individuals, spiritual knowledge is paramount. Without compromising their inner growth, they engage responsibly with worldly pursuits, earning social duties, art, music, and culture. In our tradition, lighting a lamp symbolizes this very truth, the removal of ignorance by light of knowledge. Thus, character decides the way of life decides the goal of life. Therefore, character is the greatest strength that which is Daivi Sampat. Friends, if one's goal is moksha, the only conducive path is Daivi Swabhava. This demands attentiveness to every aspect of life: food, entertainment, reading, friendships, and leisure, and thought patterns. Important. Nothing is insignificant. Every choice shapes our inner environment. Thus, right living opens the inner Vaikuntha door leading to moksha. Thus, the inner wealth of character that Bhagwan Sri Krishna expounds in the 16th, 17th, and 17th chapters of Gita, bridging the way of life taught in the Veda Purva Bhaga with the goal of life revealed in the Veda Antavaga. In today's verses, the verse 1 and 3 highlight characters of a person born with Daivi Sampat, and from verses 16 and 18, we will understand characters of persons born with Raga Pradhana and Vesha Pradhana. Friends, I will not come in between the speakers, but I'll be answering the quiz questions prepared by all the speakers. The first speaker of the day is Dr. Kiran. Dr. Kiran, please.
Hari Om, Gurubhyo Namaha. As Shivji has beautifully explained, there are two types of character. That is why it is written as Vibhaga Yoga. So Daivi Asura Sampat, both are wealth. But which wealth we should cultivate, Lord Krishna brings out beautifully. In 13th chapter itself, Lord Krishna has given the Moksha Jnana. Afterwards, perhaps as an afterthought or reverse engineering type, He realized, oh, whether Arjuna has the required qualification or his way of life so far has been in tune with this knowledge. He gets a doubt. And of course, this doubt applies to all of us. By many a times through accident, we just land up into this knowledge, and then many a times we won't have qualification for it. So he, after thought from 14th chapter onwards up till 17th chapter, he explains the necessary knowledge. One of the things, necessary qualifications. One of the things is some of these qualifications he has already brought out in previous chapters, that is in second chapter, third chapter, fourth chapters. But here he means at a higher level. Once we have learned the 13th chapter, how these are to be inculcated. Our goal is moksha. In fact, the ashrama dharma or varnashrama, which is there, as Shivji has pointed out in our Vedic life, is tuned to this. For example, all of us know Purusharthas, that is Artha, Kama, Dharma, and Moksha. First, Brahmacharya, that is the first ashrama, the student or early part of a life, we should concentrate on Arthas, that is the basics things. And next, that is the Gruhastha, is mainly on the Kama. And Dharma, that is the Vanaprastha, that is where we concentrate more on Dharma. We donate, charity, and move from the materialistic to the others. And lastly, that is we pursue Moksha Jnana, that is in Sannyasa it is called. But all these four are there right from starting, and we should keep on developing these characters. So, just like this Samudra Manthan, where the ultimate goal was Amrita, and many, we got many riches in between they got, but ultimately those who persevered ultimately got the Amrita. Our whole life, we should try and accumulate these what is called as Daivi Sampat, while we should decrease the Asuri Sampat, because as you notice, we are born with many of the Asuri Sampat. So all these, as we move forward in our spirituality, we should try to decrease it. Let us learn what are these. First, let us learn what are the Daivi Sampat, that is the noble qualities that help in the spiritual upliftment. This verse goes like this. Previous slide, please. Previous, yeah. Tejaha Kshama Dhriti Shaucha Adroha Na Atimanita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivi Abhijatasya Bharata. Let us learn each qualities as it is. Next slide, please. So, first Tejaha. Tejaha is Tejas is a goodness or courage that is born out of knowledge. That is our deep understanding, Viveka, what is right, what is wrong, what is that Tejas. Not only we know what is right and thing, we should also have the courage to stand for the right. Here it means we should not be a victim of exploitation. We should not become Bolu Baba like that. Just as we should not hurt others, we have a duty to our own body and our own mind. We should not allow others to hurt ours. The values we stand for, that is the most important. The values we stand for. Just because somebody, it is very common in the peer pressure, just because somebody says, hey, you are what is like that, you are being very goody goody and all that, people will, because of the peer pressure, the youngsters will try, I will try drinking, what is there, everybody do like that. So we should have that courage to stand for what is right and the value we value. That is what is called as Tejaha. So these, even though these are common terminologies, Krishna brings out a different meaning here, as you are seeing, because already 13th chapter has art and he expects us to have the higher level. And next is Kshama. It is otherwise called as Shantihi or Titiksha. Kshama is the benefit we gain through the tapas or tapava, austerity, vairagya, which we have done. Kshama here means mind becomes free from anger. That is a key step here. Akrodaha, which he has already explained, is a discriminative expression of anger or controlled expression. Here he means that anger itself should be eliminated. That's what he means. For example, many a times the teacher acts very angry at the student. Hey, what is this? He shouts and all. And next moment, once he goes out of the class, he is very happy and as if nothing has happened. There, he is using the controlled expression of anger to control the student. But here it is at the higher. We should remove even that controlled expression of anger is not needed to attain or in the spiritual progress. This is possible only by reducing the expectation, because expectation leads to all these anger, disappointment, etc. Next slide, please. Yeah. Here, there is a beautiful movie, Chinese movie, though it is a propaganda movie, many call it. Everybody should watch it because it has got lot of spiritual knowledge embedded in the mastery of the martial art, because both of them almost go hand in hand. Here he explains the levels of mastery. First level is mastering the weapon so that it becomes extension of your body. As an artist or I may as a surgeon, once I attain some expertise, as if there is no difference between the instrument I use and my hand. That is the first level. We have seen many. The second level is when your art itself becomes weapon. So, or mind. So you are stopping the enemy with your heart before the fighting begins. This is all the art of diplomacy. That is at a second level. We should see to it that this war, that is what Krishna did before the Mahabharata war began. At the third level, even the heart is no longer the weapon. This is very, very important. There's no hatred even to the against the enemy. You do what is right, even if it means sacrificing yourself. That is no weapons, no heart, no will. You don't, like a river flowing, you don't have any will. What is right, what Krishna explained before, nimitta matram, that is what is this. The opponent becomes you. In this state of union, he says when opponent strikes, he strikes himself. So when you are striking, you strike himself. That is above all this, right, wrong, etc. What is common good? That is what is he means. This is the idea, the ultimate level, he says, and I have never met anyone who has reached that level. Here I want to give an example. Lord Krishna, even after Mahabharata war, he, sides with Pandavas and makes victory. But when Gandhari, curses him, he accepts it with the grace. There is an aftermath story where all the people who have died ultimately reaches Yama's court before their proceed to the, who goes to heaven and who goes to hell, etc. Krishna says, I born, came as an avatara, I will also undergo this test. And here, while explaining, he says, every shot which was arrow which was shot in the Mahabharata war has passed through me. I have felt the same pain when it struck either Pandavas or Kauravas. And he says, to me, this pain, laughter is all same. So that is the highest level which we speak, and we should practice this, what he is explaining by Kshama and other things previously. Next slide, please. So, next is dhritihi, that is fortitude, perseverance or willpower, the capacity to continue sadhanas in spite of obstacles. Some of people, as soon as we get into this sadhana, spirituality, etc., we expect everybody to praise us and give a red carpet, etc. No, there will be obstacles all through the way, and we should learn to practice our spirituality through it. Shaucham is cleanliness and orderliness, that is both inside and the environment. We should keep our environment what is called minimalistic and clean, both inside and outside. Adroha, this is very important, is ahimsa at mental level. Here he is again telling us the higher level. It's not just non-violence, or it is not just ahimsa, it is at higher level. Even the thought of hurting somebody should not come. And na atimanita, that means free from the pride. So above qualities, as soon as we develop or we reach at some part, we should not become proud, because that will be our downfall. And so we should have humbleness throughout. Sampadam Draivi Abhijatasya. That means all virtues should be present. How? It is not, some people interpret as inborn. It's not inborn, all they should be cultivated. And cultivating these virtues, Swami Paramarthananda says, alone will take time. Vedantic studying is actually doesn't take much time, because we don't accept all these things, doesn't look strange to us, not because it is some complicated theory, because we don't have the necessary qualities. If we have the necessary quality, as sir says, it becomes susukam, very easy to do it. and how much each of these quality we should, just like how purify we can do a gold or a diamond. It is never ending story. Even after attaining the knowledge, this continues. That is what Lord Krishna means. Thank you very much. Next, let us have the quiz. Which quality Krishna refers in 16.3 to not expecting honor or not being overproud? Which quality? That is adroha, nata, na atimanita, kshama, dhriti.
The answer would be Nati Manita.
Correct. Yeah. As if we can split the word itself, we know na means no, ati means excess, and manita means self-proud. Manyata, we expect some manyata like that. Yeah. Let us see. Yeah. Next question. Which of the following is not listed as divine quality? That is, first is vigor, tejas. Second is forgiveness, kshama. Third is proud, garva. And fourth is cleanliness, shaucham.
I feel the correct answer is Garva.
Yeah, correct. Garva is actually can be a negative quality. Next slide, please. Yeah. Adroha means not cheating, ahimsa, amanitva, arjavam.
Adroha would mean ahimsa.
Correct. Yeah. Ahimsa at a mental level, even not thinking about himsa. That is the ahimsa. Yeah. Next. Yeah. True or false? A person having Daivi Sampat gets liberation directly. Correct or false?
False.
Okay, okay. Yeah, he has to pass through knowledge. Knowledge is the only means. Person having Daivi Sampat should tolerate someone hurting. He should be totally non-violent like that.
Again, that would be false.
Correct. The first itself, he says that Tejas itself means you should have courage, and if somebody hurts you, you should have a say answer to say no. Not like Trump is trampling all over you and we keep quiet. That's not the things. Yeah. Kshama here means mind becomes free from anger. Akrodaha means discriminative expression of anger or control.
That would be true.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for a very nice explanation as well as a good revisive teaching quiz. Proceeding to the next verse, Dr. Komal Prasad, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We are seeing the 16th chapter and the dual nature of humanity, Daivi Sampat and Asuri Sampat. Spiritual wisdom versus materialistic entrapment. So you have to remember that this is the dual nature of humanity, and each one of us have a proportion. We are endowed with these two contrasting features. The reason what Krishna is intending here is to make us aware of the two ways of life, having Daivi Sampat versus Asuri Sampat. In this particular verse, we have chosen the 10th verse of 16th chapter. Sri Krishna explains about how people who have predominant Asuri Sampat would be acting in this world. Kamamashritya dushpuram dambhamanamadaन्विताः मोहाद् गृहीत्वा असद्ग्राहान् प्रवर्तन्ते ashuchitvrata. Taking to insatiable desire, they, that is the people with predominant Asuri Sampat, they are full of pretensions, vanity, and haughtiness. Holding wrong views due to delusion, they act with impure resolve. Ashushis So now what we saw in the next slide, we'll see the two ways, two sampat, two kinds of wealth we can consider. The Asuri Sampat, the materialistic way of life, and Daivi Sampat, the spiritual way of life, which is defined by a natural pull towards higher truths, introspection, and liberation. They seek shreyas, the ultimate good, over prayas, which is otherwise which is pleasant in the immediate future. The Asuri Sampath is about down to earth focus on tangible, sensory, whatever is immediately available and enjoyable. Their nature is bound by materialistic values. Here, one thing we have to remember is these are not ethnic or social groups. Far from it, but through their internal value systems. Even one born in a spiritual environment can possess an asuric nature. It is determined by tendencies, vasanas, not heritage. The reverse is also true, where even one born without the spiritual environment around can possess a Daivi Sampath. So it's the natural tendencies of the person, the vasanas, and not the heritage. That's something which we have to keep in mind. So every sinner has a future, and everybody with whatever the environment around has that capacity to move towards getting into the Daivi Sampath. Okay, what is the root of confusion for these people with predominant Asuri Sampath? Na viduhu, that is spiritual illiteracy. The core affliction in them is not a lack of academic intelligence. They may hold a PhD, but still they may remain spiritually illiterate. The missing faculty in them would be dharma, adharma, viveka, the inability to discriminate between the right and wrong action. They do not know what to do and what to avoid. They know physics but not metaphysics. They act on an impulse, raga, dvesha, like, dislike. You want it, buy it, like that, rather than on duty, which is vidhi nisheda. So from vidhi nisheda, which is an ideal, they are more towards raga, dvesha based transactions in the daily life. Abandonment of discipline, na shaucham, na achara. The Vedic ideal, as exemplified by early rising, internal cleansing, Surya Namaskar, is replaced by materialistic reality, rush and crush routine, which takes out the protection, making the mind vulnerable. Without the armor of discipline, one faces the onslaught of materialism unprotected. The next slide, we saw the root of confusion. Now viduhu, this is what I explained. They do not know what to do and what to avoid. Coming to the next slide, we saw two ways of life, the Vedic ideal versus materialistic reality. The key takeaway is without the armor of discipline, one faces the onslaught of materialism unprotected. In the next slide, the philosophy of denial. They believe only in what is seen. If it is not seen, if it cannot be measured, it does not exist. Anything measured is Maya. Anything measurable is Maya. But if you believe only Maya, then you are lost in the materialistic world. For them, there is no truth, asatyam, rejection of valid knowledge of Vedas. Apratishtitam, there is no moral order. And Anishwaram, eventually they go to say there's no God. The belief that creation is merely a chemical accident. Big Bang, don't you know that much? It's a scientific fact that it's only the Big Bang and everything started from that point. There is no way to think beyond like what would have happened before that. What was time before the Big Bang? To give an example. The next slide, we see the intellectual blind spot, the rejection of the sixth sense of scriptures, the Vedas. The five senses are the only things which they believe. Imagine a man with four senses, and imagine he does not have the sense of sight. He refuses to believe in color simply because he cannot hear red color or he can't smell a blue. He demands proof through the senses he possesses. If only five senses are there, and if you believe only what is sensed by these five senses, may you miss out on something which cannot be grasped, sensed by these five senses. So these Alpa Buddhaya, small-minded materialist, rejects the spiritual truth because it cannot be proven by physical science. Vedas are the eye for invisible truths, the dharma and moksha. Rejecting them makes one a lost soul. Swamiji gives in the next slide a very interesting definition of happiness. The insatiable fire, dushpuram kamam. Why it is an insatiable? The definition of happiness, Swami Paramarthanandaji says, is desires fulfilled divided by total desires entertained. So initially it looks like you make a list of what all is your desire and start increasing whatever he can get it fulfilled. Looks like the happiness can increase because over time you will be fulfilling your desires. But what in reality happens is the denominator, the total desires which are entertained, grows exponentially the same time when the desires which you fulfill is going in a linear growth. Like pouring ghee into fire, by pouring objects and fulfilling some of your desires, you're just creating more desires. Happiness decreases despite increasing consumption, despite fulfilling some of the desires, because your total desires gradually increase. In the next slide, we see this is a habit from our childhood. Amma says, it's time, stop playing. Now come wash your hands, get your hands pure, and then we'll go eat, have food. But what the child sees is unable to see what cleanliness means and what is the necessity for food. He just tries to continue the materialistic way of playing. And this habit, in spite of knowing over we age, over we mature, as in the same the next slide we see, it continues to our adulthood, taking to insatiable desire. They are full of pretensions, vanity, and haughtiness, holding wrong views due to delusion, in spite of telling there is alternate path, the bigger worldview of dharma and moksha, unable to grasp that, they act with impure resolve. The next slide we see Dambha Mana Madhanvita, psychology of ego. Dambha is ostentation, pomp and show. Religion, even though outwardly the person may look religious, he may be wearing vibhuti or nama, he may be chanting mantras. But if it is just a performance, it is pomp and show. Dambha. Mana, pride, demanding respect and validation. Mada, arrogance, intoxication with one's own power or wealth. The driver here is acting on delusion, moha. There is a shift from being to having. I have more, and that's my goal of life. The next slide, we recapitulate the four purusharthas. Artha Kama, the basic goals which even animals will have. It's a valid goal. According to our scriptures, it's not invalid to have them. Pleasure, comfort, security, wealth, it's required. But materialistic ceiling, it ends here. Asuri Sampat ends here. The ultimate goal of moksha, the spiritual freedom, is much above. And the roadway to that, the link to reach there, the dharma, the inner refinement, washing your hands before you have food, is missing. The missing link, the inner refinement, the ethics is missing here. Artha and Kama are natural instincts. If you are unable to see beyond that, you won't be seeing the missing link, dharma, or even the moksha. We have to remember animals have Artha and Kama. What's the difference between the animals, animalistic attitude, and we humans? We are endowed with dharma and moksha, which are unique human potentials. In the next slide, we see the transformation, what we are seeing. The second birth, in fact, is from Prakrita to Samskrita, from raw to refined, a life driven by likes and dislikes, Raga Dvesha to a life driven by duty and scripture, Vidhi Nisheda. Just as a child trusts the mother on hygiene before understanding bacteria, seeker trusts the mother Vedas on dharma before fully understanding the spiritual mechanics. So, this is the definition, explanation of Asuri Sampat given in 10th verse of 16th chapter. Thank you. From here, The next slide, we are seeing the final reflection. We'll go back. Which path do you walk? So that's the question we have to ask ourselves. Daivi Sampat Vimokshaya, the spiritual wealth which leads to liberation. Okay. The external assets lead to anxiety and dependency, whereas internal wealth, the Daivi Sampat, will lead us to moksha, wisdom, and freedom. Next slide, we will again see the 10th verse, which is the explanation of how the people with predominant Asuri Sampat will be behaving in the world. Insatiable desire, which ends, and there's a missing link. They are not saying either dharma or moksha. Thank you. And from the next slide onwards, we'll be going to the quiz part. The first question. According to chapter 16, Krishna divides the entirety of humanity into two groups, the Daivi, Daiva, and the Asura, based on what is the primary criteria for this classification. Is it the social or religious group they were born into, their accumulated wealth and material success, their level of formal education and intellectual knowledge, or is it the natural tendencies and system of values?
Certainly D, the natural tendencies and system of values.
That's right. So, you see in the next slide, Gita clarifies in this chapter that the division is based on whether one has a natural spiritual tendency or an utterly materialistic one, irrespective of their external influences. Going to the next question. Among the four human goals, the Purusharthas, which two are exclusively valued by a materialistic person? Dharma, the inner refinement, and moksha, spiritual enlightenment, or kama and moksha, that's the sense pleasure and moksha, or artha and dharma, or artha and kama.
Those which are exclusively valued by a materialistic person, that is asuric person, are D, artha and kama.
That's right. The materialistic person who looks only these two as tangible goals in life. But these are natural things for every, even animals, as we just saw. The next question is see, what can be considered the second birth of a human being? We call Dvija, okay, the second birth. Is it the attainment of final liberation or moksha? Is that the second birth? Or the shift from a life based on likes, dislikes to one guided by scriptural values? The shift, is that the point when there's a second life, second birth? Or the formal performance of the sacred thread ceremony, which is generally considered as a ritualistic second birth? Or is it at the moment one accepts a spiritual teacher or guru? What among this can be considered as real second birth?
As you rightly said, the formal performance of sacred thread ceremony is ritualistically considered the second life, but here it is B, the shift from life based on likes and dislikes to one guided by scriptural values.
That's right. This transformation from Prakrita, the natural way of life, the only natural way of life, to Samskrita, refined by replacing Raga Dvesha with Vidhi Nisheda, disciplined life, is defined as the second birth, an opening to see the other possibilities in this very life, which is moksha, and which is led, how we are led there is through the pathway of dharma. So, leading the dharmic way of life is the way forward to reach moksha. And understanding that shift, that there's one more room in your life which you have to explore, one more dimension in your life which you have to explore, that's the moment which can be considered a second birth of human being. Next question. Which of the following beliefs is characteristic of the worldview held by the Asuric people? So, beliefs, characteristic worldview of Asuric people. The Vedas contain truth, but their wisdom is outdated in the modern world. The world was created by God, but He no longer has a role in its functioning. The world is governed by a strict moral order, dharma, but its rules are too difficult to follow. 4. The world is without God, Anishwaram, not at all required, and it's caused solely by desire. How I am created by desire through my parents. The only thing in this world is only desire, and I have to fulfill my desire. There is no God. That's the fourth option. Next
The
one we see a
belief,
hint also, because this is a little complex question. All are
yes,
interesting answers, options. The hint is consider the rejection of any concept that cannot be proven by the five senses or modern science.
consider the rejection of any concept that cannot be proven by the five senses or modern science. That is directly the belief of the Asuri people here would be D. The world is without God and is caused solely by desires.
That's right. This aligns with the verse which states they believe the world has no divine creator and is born from the union of male and female caused by passion. But this world is Anishwaram. This is their thought process of Asuric people. Next question. Here there are four beautiful analogies. In the next slide, we see the next question. Your job is to identify the best analogy to explain why a person should follow the Vedas even without fully understanding its value initially to start with. Is it like a farmer planting seeds with the faith that they will eventually grow into crops? Or like a student trusting a teacher's mathematical formula without understanding its derivation? Or like a sailor using a map and compass to navigate through uncharted territory? Or like a baby surrendering to its mother's decision regarding its health and well being?
You have beautifully depicted this with your slide of a child wanting to play, mother wanting the child to wash its hands before having food. So it is D, a baby surrendering to its mother's decisions regarding its health and well being.
So in the next slide, we see the right answer. Yours is the correct answer. The text directly compares humanity to a baby and Vedas to a mother, Veda Mata, who knows what is ultimately good for the child. The next question. What is the best analogy to critique the materialistic person's demand for scientific proof of Vedic truths? A. A person with only four senses refusing to believe in the existence of color. A person who mistakes a rope for a snake in the dark. A person trying to weigh an emotion on a physical scale. Or a person pouring ghee into the fire, hoping to extinguish it. Which is the best analogy?
The best analogy for a person's demanding the scientific proof would be a person with only four senses, refusing to believe in the existence of color. A.
Right answer. Is the precise analogy used where the Vedas are compared to a sixth sense organ, Veda Pramana, revealing a reality inaccessible to the other five senses. With that, we end the quiz. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Dr. Komal. Nice presentation, explanation of this verse with uh, slides as usual. A signature of yours, very creative. Thank you. Next verse, the 16th verse, shall be explained by Sri Kulkarni B.S. Kulkarni, sir.
Hari Om, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Ethical and moral values are a divine expressions. It is the optimum unfoldment of divinity in the individual. It plays an important role in the evolution of spiritual progress if it is intelligently analyzed. Chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita reveals the two types categorically made based on the qualities of human nature. They are analyzed scientifically as Daivi and Asuris qualities, which are covered in Devasura Sampadvibhaga Yoga. Bhagavan commenced this chapter with the divine qualities in the first three verses, and they are all explained by the previous speakers. Then the Lord Krishna explained in the general tendencies of human nature, which is a mixture of Daivi and Asuri qualities. Up to verse 20th, the detailed explanation of Asuri qualities and its causes and its ill effects are enumerated. In this verse, Bhagavan starts explaining the cause of Asuri qualities and its effects. The verse goes like this. अनेकचित्तविभ्रान्ता मोहजालसमावृताः प्रसक्तकामभोगेषु पतन्ति नरकेषु च. Bewildered by many fancy thoughts, entangled in the circle of delusion, addicted to the gratification of lust, they fall in the unholy atmosphere of hell. Next slide, sir. Aneka chitta vibhranta. The individual, while transacting with the enchanting world outside, different thoughts of different nature will arise in the intellect. A person having a tamasic and rajasic nature, he will entertain the thoughts of desire, pride, arrogance, anger, lust, jealousy, thoughts of sensual pleasures, and egocentric, adharmic, antisocial thoughts, worries, etc., with the worldly attractions. It will cause a intellect clouded with all discriminative thoughts, which cause a confusion and agitation. The confused intellect cannot take a right decision, and this confused state is called Chitta Brahma. The cause of Chitta Brahma is due to the ignorance of the real truth. Moha Jalavrata. The effect of delusion create a false impression in the mind and intellect. It again create a number of emotional agitations, and that will lead to improper judgment and disharmony. A person will be victim to asuri qualities, and aviveka of indiscriminative nature will prompt him to indulge in adharmic activities. The prasakta kama bhokeshu. A disturbed mind and clouded intellect will cause a sense organs behave erratically to the worldly attractions and its pleasures. A tendency to fall in the lust of sensual pleasure is a common feature. Bhagavan warns the entire mankind to be careful about these asuri qualities, otherwise they fall in the unholy hell where they have to suffer bitterly. Bhagavan's intention is to lift the human being morally and spiritually. He wants to make Manava to Madhava and not to become a Danava. That is his intention. Bharata Vamsha. Next slide, sir. Next slide, sir. Bharata Vamsha, an ardent disciple of the Shankaracharya, in the Prakarana Grantha of Bhajagovindam, it calls the seekers who are victim to asuri qualities as mudhas. A meaningful verse in the Bhajagovindam 26th is like this. Kamam krodham lobham moham tektatmanam pashyati soham atmadhyana vihina muda te pashyanti narakani ghuda. Renouncing desire, anger, greed, delusion, the seeker unveils the self. The fools are those who have no self-knowledge and they fall in the hell. Next slide, sir. Next slide, sir. Another Prakarana Grantha of Shankaracharya wants the seekers to be vigilant about the effect of desire, anger, and greed. That is Vedanta Dindima. The Kama Krodascha Lobhascha Dehe Tishtanti Taskaraha Jnanarthan Apaharya Tasmat Jagrata Jagrata. Swamiji of opinion that the internal enemies are more dangerous than the external. For the external enemies, we have got option to renounce. The more details about the authority qualities in the next few verses. So we will have a simple quiz. Next slide, sir. What are the basic cause of authority qualities as stated in the verse number 16? Number 1, Brahma. Second is Moha. Third is Kama. And last is all the above. So, answer, sir?
Kama is the answer, sir.
Yes. All the above is the correct answer.
Okay, I stand corrected. Thank you.
Next one, sir.
What is the ultimate effect of Asuri qualities, sir?
Next, sir. Next slide. What is the ultimate bitter effect of Asuri qualities? Sense pleasure, fulfillment of egocentric desire, social reputation, and third is suffering in the unholy hell.
Fulfillment of egocentric desires.
No, but as per the verse, they have told suffering in the holy and holy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next, sir.
What are the causes of Chitta Brahma?
What are the causes of Chitta Vibhrama? Number 1, spiritual thoughts, dharmic thoughts, ethical and moral thoughts. Last is sensory worldly thoughts.
Is it D, sensory and worldly thoughts?
Correct, sir. Sensory and worldly thoughts.
Next, sir, what are the causes of Moha?
What are the causes of Moha? Ignorance of the truth. Second, finding pleasures in the world attractions. Third, attachments of relations and worldly objects. And all the
above. What are the causes of Moha? Ignorance of the truth, finding pleasures in worldly attractions, attachment of relations, worldly objects. So actually it is ignorance, but here in this case, the options that you have given, can we say all of the above?
All the above, correct. All the above is correct. What are the methods adopted by the individuals with Asuri qualities to fulfill their desires? First is anger, arrogance, conceit, all the above.
Here certainly all the of the above, because anger, arrogance, and conceit are used by Asuric quality Swabhava people to fulfill their desires.
Correct, sir. Correct, sir.
Thank you, sir, for a nice explanation.
Hari Om. Thank you, sir. Correct.
And thank you for a nice quiz also. The next verse, the 18th verse, shall be explained by Srimati Nitha Poddar.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. From Shloka 7 of chapter 16, Lord Krishna is describing the Asuri Sampat, the demonic tendencies within us. These qualities lead to a Raga, Rajasic, Pradhana life, driven by self-centered desires, attachment and craving. We heard this already. Asuri Sampat also describes, the Asuri Sampat described also includes the Rakshasi tendencies where tamas and dvesha is dominating. And when our own personal gratification overrides dharma, we may unknowingly harm others. In next slide, sir. Oh, yeah. In 13 to 16 shloka, Krishna is pointing out the confusion within us when we prioritize artha and kama, and when we overlook dharma and moksha. We believe that wealth, possession, power will bring us happiness. And then the vision becomes so narrow and unbalanced, calculative and selfish. All the resources we have are used to maximize enjoyment. We are obsessed with acquisitions. Obstacles are ruthlessly removed, boasting of success, indulging endlessly, and chasing pleasure. Such a mindset is being described in Shloka 16.18. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodhan cha samshritaha mamatma paradeheshu pradvishanto bhyasuyakaha. Those who live under the dominance of ego, ahankaram, power, balam, darpam, arrogance, kamam, desire, and krodham, anger, develop an inner resistance to God. Here, Krishna uses a very strong word, pradvishanto, hate. He says hate, actually. Hate for God, the God which dwells within us and in all the beings. In this verse, Krishna is highlighting 5 core asuric qualities. One must note that Gita is always drawing attention to ourselves and asking us to look within. This is not for a third person. These all tendencies exist within us, maybe to a small extent, maybe to a large extent. And this is what we need to overcome to reach our ultimate goal. So Krishna is pointing these out so that we become aware and we have clarity towards these and we can work on them. Ahankara, ego. The ego is identification with the body, mind, complex, and arrogance of doership. The ego is born of ignorance and it creates the jiva bhava within us. It creates a sense of separation. Me, mine, that's all ego. This is the usual Vedantic meaning. In the ethical sense, ahankara also appears as pride, vanity, superiority, and lack of humility. Adi Shankaracharya describes ahankara as a mixture of both these in the shloka. It is the root cause of all our problems constantly, and this ego constantly keeps reorganizing. It works in all different ways. If we are not getting our way, we'll start crying. We don't get with the crying, then we start keeping quiet, and it works on all the different ways. It reorganizes life around the illusionary false self. Balam. Here, Balam is not the inner strength Krishna is talking about, but the power which we derive from status, wealth, name, position. It is often misused to dominate or belittle others through rudeness, sarcasm, abuse, fueling outward aggression instead of self-control. We all engage in some kind of power play, if not openly, subtly. Darpam, arrogance. Reckless pride that ignores limits, ethics, and social refinement. Behavior becomes impulsive and is driven by raga and dvesha, not dharma. Darpa is also called mother, which Dr. Komal explained. If praise and criticism can't make a dent in our, is making a dent. If we are, getting affected with praise, we are getting affected with criticism, we can be assured that this is existing in us. This darpa is existing in us. Kama, here it refers to unrefined desires. It refers to the dharma violating desires, which focuses on pleasure, wealth, sex, power, rather than higher goals like desires like moksha and loka sangraha. Krodha. Krishna is referring to impulsive anger that arises when personal desires and expectations are not met. They are obstructed. This anger is expressed without reflection and restraint. So, next slide. Krishna says in the second line, Pradvesha Mam, such individuals hate me. This hate rarely appears as an open hostility or atheism for most of us, right? But it appears as neglect of scriptures and resistance to self-inquiry, refusal to live by the values. Abhaya suyakaha. When we have discomfort with other teachings, and we find faults with the saints, we find faults with the scriptures. That's where this hate is being shown. We should understand that. Swami Paramarthanandaji says this hatred manifests in two ways. Next slide, sir. So I think I've not mentioned in the previous slide. By not studying the scriptures, previous slide. Yeah, when we don't study the scriptures and we keep postponing this ignorance, that is hate, according to Krishna. And then when even after studying, we are not practicing and following these teachings. That is hate. Ignoring these instructions of scriptures is a denial of the divine presence dwelling within oneself and others. Atma para deheshu, Krishna says. And that's what Krishna is calling hate me. Next slide is the word meaning. I've pretty much gone through everything. So some reflection. Next slide. I can see the whole thing again. Can you go back? Sorry. I'll just repeat. Next slide, previous slide. Yeah. Those who live under the dominance of ego, power, arrogance, desire, and anger develop an inner resistance to God, the God which dwells in themselves and in all beings. That's the thing of this verse. So to reflect, next slide. When these demonic qualities go unchecked, the artha kama predominant life will slip into adharma, causing spiritual regression. In the next verse, Krishna warns us that these tendencies could lead to an inferior birth. Human birth is a rare opportunity to remove ignorance. Ego is resisting God. Why? Because God is dissolving this false self. This resistance is appearing as avoidance of silence, introspection, and self-inquiry. That's what Krishna is calling hatred of God. The scriptures are a Google map for life, guiding the pursuit of artha and kama without losing sight of one's higher nature. Ego weakens through this guided self-inquiry, through clarity and through force. True transformation will be gradual. It will not come overnight. This will come through the systematic study of Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, with total bhakti, shraddha, surrender to the Guru Tattva and the Shastra teachings. As this path unfolds, the demonic traits will give way to the divine qualities, and the God will no longer be sought outside. He will be recognized as one's own true nature. Hari Om. Now to the quiz. Pretty simple. What dominates an Asuri life? The dharma, the moksha, what, the raga and desire, or compassion?
Certainly not compassion. The dominating aspect of a Asuri life is raga and dvesha.
Yeah, our
Raga
attachment,
and desire.
our attachments and our undefined desires. Yes. Next. Which goals are overvalued by materialistic people? They pay more attention to dharma and moksha. They pay more attention to artha and kama, bhakti and jnana, tyaga and seva.
As the options that you have given, very clearly, the materialistic people value artha and kama.
Yes. Ahankara mainly refers to humility, ego and doership, devotion, discipline.
Ahankara, just now, as you explained, edging God out, ego and doership. I think B is the correct answer.
True. Hatred of God in the Gita means open atheism, ignoring Shastra and values, violence, isolation.
Hatred of God in the Gita means open atheism, no, ignoring Shastra and values. B, ignoring Shastra and values.
True. Last one. Which yoga reveals God as the self? Karma yoga, Raja yoga, Jnana yoga, Hatha yoga.
This is a straightforward answer. Thank you. The yoga which reveals God as the self is Gnana yoga. Answer is C.
Thank you so much, sir. We all know that we have these qualities, and I mean, we recognize that these are the wrong qualities, but we are not ready to improve them. And that is what Krishna is calling hate here. That, recognize them, work on them through all our sadhanas, and, getting the knowledge, like one of the previous speakers said, is very easy. It's working on these qualities which we need to drop is the difficult part. Thank you.
Very true. Well said, Nitaji. These verses, though they sound and seem simple and straightforward, these are the verses which are very important in our day-to-day life to improve our way of life, to reach that goal of life. Without refinement, knowledge will not be received. Even if knowledge is received, it will not be retained. Even if knowledge is retained, it will not bring about transformation if the individual has not refined himself or herself. Just as before sowing seeds, a farmer tills and prepares the ground, and only after that the seed can be sown. Without preparation of the soil, or even the best of the seeds cannot sprout and produce the phalam. On behalf of Param Vedanta, I thank all the speakers of the day and all those who have joined us for this session. Friends, remember to join us at 6:45 p.m. on Monday, the 16th, I think there is an error, on 16th February for the first session of our new series for Nididhyasana. In this series, we first we shall be learning about Pratasmarami, and thereafter Upadesha Sara of Bhagwan Ramana. Pratasmarami is a prayer composed by Bhagavad Pada Adi Shankaracharya, consisting of 3 stanzas in which the manas, vak, and kaya or body of the self of the individual are sought to be dedicated to the Supreme Self. This Nididhyasanam session will be presented by Dr. Timmappa Hegdesar, and an engaging quiz segment shall be led by Dr. Anupama. Apologies for the error in the slide. Let us chant the Shanti Mantra and conclude the day's session. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.